Hello, welcome back. I'm John, old YouTuber. I got some sleep. It's a new day, Wednesday. I have to close my door and get the heating back on. So I have charging my camcorder the whole night, so now I have more power. But we need to put the heating back on. And I'm just looking at my read list, what to read today and like tomorrow. I need to think about that, which read order, but I'm not do it too long. I just do it like for today and tomorrow. I have all my read list there. That's just one more read list I will have to take from there. So that's the Chobham Armour. But there's so much I like to read. Not just about tanks and war. I like to read about the car brains and computer and history and what I need only take one by one. So the heating is back on. Let's get something to drink. I think the water is off. Because they have some water damage, so we have no hot water. Have cold water. But I have water for today. Yes, let's check. Heating on. Heating on. Yes. So let's try and finish a few more PDF today. So I got some sleep, but not enough. Because I'm sleeping too late, so I have to get more early to bed. And go to bed before 7 p.m. But I had so much video. This M1 aprons I had to upload last night to like 1 a.m. the night. Yes. So let's just read about Chobham Armour and anti-tank warfare, anti-tank guided missiles, high explosive anti-tank heats. And then I can read this tomorrow, but it takes so many days to do this. It takes so much time to do it. So, but let's just, I have to have a kind of plan what I plan to read today or tomorrow. That's my page here, that's what I plan to read today and tomorrow. I think, but there's so much else, I don't know which read order I should do it. Because there's so many. Yes, I need a minute to do myself ready in my bed. And I make a video on Dennis after I read it, I will try to make some kind of video in Danish, my language.
Chobham Armour. An American XM-1 Abrams of the pre-series, first main battle tank type to be protected by Chobham Armour. The British Army's Challenger 1 was the second main battle tank to use Chobham Armour. Chobham Armour is the informal name of a composite armour developed in the 1960s at the British Tank Research Centre on Chobham Common, Surrey. The name has since become the common generic term for composite ceramic vehicle armour. Other names informally given to Chobham armour include Burlington and Dorchester. Special armour is a broader informal term referring to any armour arrangement comprising sandwich reactive plates including Chobham armour. Although the construction details of the Chobham armour remain a secret, it has been described as being composed of ceramic tiles encased within a metal framework and bonded to a backing plate and several elastic layers. Owing to the extreme hardness of the ceramics used, they offer superior resistance against shaped charges such as high explosive anti-tank, heat, rounds, and they shatter kinetic energy penetrators. The armour was first tested in the context of the development of a British prototype vehicle, the FV4211, and first applied on the Prizaries of the American M1. Only the M1 Abrams, Challenger 1, Challenger 2, K1 tanks have been disclosed as being thus armored. 1. The framework holding the ceramics is usually produced in large blocks, giving these tanks and especially their turrets a distinctive angled appearance. Protective qualities. Due to the extreme hardness of the ceramics used, the tiles offer superior resistance against a shaped charge J, and they shatter kinetic energy penetrators, KE penetrators. The pulverized ceramic also strongly abrides any penetrator. Against lighter projectiles, the hardness of the tiles causes a shatter gap effect. A higher velocity will, within a certain velocity range, the gap not lead to a deeper penetration but destroy the projectile instead. 2. Because the ceramic is so brittle, the entrance channel of a shaped charge jet is not smooth as it would be when penetrating a metal but rugged, causing extreme asymmetric pressures which disturb the geometry of the jet, on which its penetrative capabilities are critically dependent, as its mass is relatively low. Thighs initiates a vicious circle as the disturbed jet causes still greater irregularities in the ceramic, until in the end it is defeated. The newer composites, though tougher, optimize this effect as tiles made with them have a layered internal structure conducive to it, causing crack deflection. 3. This mechanism, using a jet's own energy against it, has caused the effects of Chobham to be compared to those of reactive armor. This should not be confused with the effect used in non-explosive reactive armor, that of sandwiching an inert but soft elastic material such as rubber between two armor plates. The impact of either a shaped charge jet or armor-piercing fin stabilized discarding sabot, APFs, kinetic energy, KE, long rod penetrators, after the first layer has been perforated and while the rubber layer is being penetrated will cause the rubber to deform and expand, so deforming both the back and front plates. Both attack methods will suffer from obstruction to their expected paths, so experiencing a greater thickness of armor than there is nominally, thus lowering penetration. Also for rod penetrations, the transverse force experienced due to the deformation may cause the rod to shatter, bend, or only change its path, again lowering penetration. All versions of Chobham armor have incorporated a large volume of non-energetic reactive armor, NERA, plates, with added hard armor ahead of the mirror, intended to protect the mirror elements and disrupt the penetrator before it encounters the mirror, and forward/or behind the mirror, intended to catch the fragments of long rods or heat jets. After they have been fractured or disrupted by the front plate and NEI. This is another factor favoring a slab-sided or wedge-like turret. The amount of material the pounding plates push into the path of an attack increases as they are placed closer to parallel to the direction of that attack. 4. To date, few Chobham armor-protected tanks have been defeated by enemy fire in combat. The relevance of individual cases of lost tanks for determining the protective qualities of Chobham armor is difficult to ascertain, as the extent to which such tanks are protected by ceramic modules is undisclosed. During the Second Iraq War in 2003, a Challenger 2 tank became stuck in a ditch while fighting in Basra against Iraqi forces. The crew remained safe inside for many hours. The Burlington LV-2 composite armor protecting them from enemy fire, including multiple rocket-propelled grenades. 5. Structure. Ceramic tiles have a multiple hit capability problem in that they cannot sustain successive impacts without quickly losing much of their protective value. 6. To minimize the effects of this, the tiles are made as small as possible. But the matrix elements have a minimal practical thickness of about 25 mm, approximately 1 inch, and the ratio of coverage provided by tiles would become unfavorable, placing a practical limit at a diameter of about 10 cm, approximately 4 inches. The small hexagonal or square ceramic tiles are encased within the matrix either by isostatically pressing them into the heated matrix, 7, or by gluing them with an epoxy resin. Since the early 1990s, it has been known that holding the tiles under constant compression by their matrix greatly improves their resistance to kinetic penetrators, which is difficult to achieve when using glues. 8. The matrix has to be backed by a plate, both to reinforce the ceramic tiles from behind and to prevent formation of the metal matrix by a kinetic impact. Typically the backing plate has half of the mass of the composite matrix. 9. The assemblage is again attached to elastic layers. These absorb impacts somewhat, but their main function is to prolong the service life of the composite matrix by protecting it against vibrations. Several assemblages can be stacked, depending on the available space. This way the armor can be made modular, to be replaceable, and more adaptable to varied tactical situations. The thickness of a typical assemblage is today about 5 to 6 centimeters. Earlier assemblages, so-called depth of penetration, DOP, matrices, were thicker. The relative interface defeat component of the protective value of a ceramic is much larger than for steel armor. Using a number of thinner matrices again enlarges that component fourth entire armor package, an effect analogous to the use of alternate layers of high hardness and softer steel, which is typical for the glacis of modern Soviet tanks. Ceramic tiles draw little or no advantage from sloped armor as they lack sufficient toughness to significantly deflect heavy penetrators. Indeed, because a single glancing shot could crack many tiles, the placement of the matrix is chosen so as to optimize the chance of a perpendicular hit, a reversal of the previous desired design feature for conventional armor. Ceramic armor normally even offers better protection for a given aerial density when placed perpendicularly than when placed obliquely, because the cracking propagates along the surface normal of the plate. 10. Instead of rounded forms, the turrets of tanks using Chobham armor typically have a slab-sided appearance. The backing plate reflects the impact energy back to the ceramic tile in a wider cone. This dissipates the energy, limiting the cracking of the ceramic, but also means a more extended area is damaged. Spalling caused by the reflected energy can be reduced by a malleable thin graphite layer on the face of the ceramic, absorbing the energy without making it strongly rebound again as a metal face plate would. Tiles under compression suffer far less from impacts. In their case, it can be advantageous to have a metal face plate, bringing the tile also under perpendicular compression. The confined ceramic tile then reinforces metal face plate, a reversal of the normal situation. A gradual technological development has taken place in ceramic armor. Ceramic tiles, in themselves vulnerable to low energy impacts, were first reinforced by gluing them to a back plate. In the 90s, the resistance was increased by bringing them under compression on two axes. In the final phase, a third compression axis was added to optimize impact resistance. 11. To confine the ceramic core. Several advanced techniques are used, supplementing the traditional machining and welding, including sintering the suspension material around the core, squeeze casting of molten metal around the core, and spraying the molten metal onto the ceramic tile. 12. The hole is placed within the shell formed by the outer and inner wall of the tank turret or hull, the inner wall being the thicker material. Over the years, newer and tougher composites have been developed, giving about 5 times the protection value of the original pure ceramics, the best of which were again about 5 times as effective as a steel plate of equal weight. These are often a mixture of several ceramic materials, or metal matrix composites which combine ceramic compounds within a metal matrix. The latest developments involve the use of carbon nanotubes to improve toughness even further. Commercially produced or researched ceramics for such type of armor include boron carbide, 13, silicon carbide, aluminium oxide, sapphire or alumina, aluminium nitride, titanium boride and synthite, a synthetic diamond composite. Of these, boron carbide is the hardest and lightest, 13, but also the most costly and brittle. Boron carbide composites are today favored for ceramic plates protecting against smaller projectiles, such as used in body armor and armored helicopters. This was, in the early 60s, the first general application of ceramic armor. 14. Silicon carbide is better suited to protect against larger projectiles than boron carbide, as the latter material suffers a phase collapse when impacted by a projectile traveling at a speed over 850 m/s. 13. 15. Silicon carbide was at that time mainly used in some prototype land vehicles, such as the MBT-70. The ceramics can be created by pressureless sintering or hot pressing. A high density is required, so residual porosity must be minimized in the final part. A matrix using a titanium alloy is very costly to produce, but the metal is favored for its lightness, strength and resistance to corrosion, which is a constant problem. The backing plate can be made from steel, but, as its main function is to improve the stability and stiffness of the assemblage, aluminium is more weight efficient in light armored fighting vehicles, AFVs, only taupe protected against light anti-tank weapons. A deformable composite backing plate can combine the function of a metal backing plate and an elastic layer. Heavy metal modules. The armor configuration of the first Western tanks using Chobham armor was optimized to defeat shaped charges, as guided missiles were seen as the greatest threat. In the 80s, however, they began to face the improved Soviet 3BM-32, then 3BM-42 kinetic energy penetrators, which the ceramic layer was not particularly effective against. The original ceramics had a resistance against penetrators of about a third compared to that against heat rounds. For the newest composites it is about 1/10. A typical example, the 3BM-42, is a segmented projectile which frontal segments are sacrificed in expanding the narrow plates in the front of the armor array, leaving a hole for the rear segment to strike the ceramic with full efficiency. For this reason many model designs include added layers of heavy metals to add more density to the overall armor package. The introduction of more effective ceramic composite materials allows for a larger width of these metal layers within the armor shell, given a certain protection level provided by the composite matrix. It can be thinner. Because these metal layers are denser than the rest of the composite array, increasing their thickness requires reducing the armor thickness in non-critical areas of the vehicle. 16.